Hello, everyone. This is the Undying Nephilim, and I think I'm going to ramble for a little while today. But before I do that, just a heads up, the next patch for Hyrule Total War is pretty much done. I've made a trailer for it too. If you're on the Discord channel, you can see a little preview of the trailer, but otherwise, it should all be up sometime in the next 48 hours. So, in the meantime, I think I'm going to ramble about Spoony, the Spoony one, or Noah Antweiler. Once upon a time, he wasn't my favorite internet personality, but I would say he was one of my favorites. And I think, like a great many people, the last several years of his work has kind of been baffling, to put it lightly. I kind of want to just ramble about it because it's kind of sad and frustrating and fascinating and just really weird. But anyway, for those of you who don't know who Spoony is, he's basically I don't know if I want to call him a critic. He's kind of he reviews movies and video games, but they're not actual reviews. They're sort of they're not even really critiques. They're just sort of really expressive. I really don't know how to put them. They're basically him pulling apart and nitpicking and pointing out a lot of weird flaws and stupid things in video games and movies that most people overlook. And he has a pretty divisive personality. There's lots of people that love him and lots of people that hated him. And back in the day, I used to really like his videos, and I used to like his work and his style of reviews. He seemed one of the things about him I really liked, and I know tons of people pointed this out, and just a heads up, I'm probably not really adding much more to this that hasn't been said by other people, but what I liked about Spoony is that he seemed like he just spoke his mind. There was no script. It was almost like just a constant stream of thought. And he did it in a way without really stumbling and bumbling, and it seemed really honest too, which is something I always appreciate. When it seemed like his opinions were really genuine and honest, even if they were really weird, and most people didn't agree with them. But I guess let's see, where should I go from here? I think I'm going to explain a little bit of backstory about me, and this is going to seem like it has nothing to do with Spoony, but it might explain why I really liked him before he delved into insanity. But I come from a family who both parents in the family were basically complete opposites of each other. They liked extremely different things, and they were not above mocking and poking fun at each other's interests and hobbies. Like, my father was really into heavy metal, and he was a metalhead, and my mother liked horses and bred horses, and she was into country and all that stuff, and they were nothing alike at all. They had almost no similar interests, and they basically always vocalized how much they disliked each other's hobbies. So I basically grew up in this environment where two people could completely disagree and even hate each other's interests and hobbies, and yet they still loved each other and got along. And I was kind of raised in that environment. And around the time Spoony became famous, so to speak, was also around the time I really started to get into the internet, and the internet was a completely different beast to the world where I grew up in, where, I can just express my opinion on how I love or hate something, and you couldn't really do that back in like 2008 or 2009. If you said anything like bad about the sacred cows, so to speak, you'd basically get shut down by most internet communities, and I'm sort of infamously known for doing that with the Zelda fandom. So when I discovered Spoony, one thing I really appreciated is that he basically spoke his dislike of. He didn't even go after low hanging fruit. He went right for the sacred cow. He went after Final Fantasy, and he basically pulled apart this game that it seemed like most people loved and just kind of exposed how many stupid, terrible things were in it. And I really appreciated the fact that he was able to do that and kind of just shrug off all the slings and arrows that the fan base sort of threw at him. It was really entertaining to watch, and I really appreciated the fact that it seemed like he had a thick skin, which is almost completely opposite of what seems to have happened to him. But anyway, eventually Spoony created a Patreon, and his Patreon kind of took off. It was actually quite impressive. I think pretty fast he got it up to about $5,000 a month, somewhere around there, and it seemed like everything was going well for him, and he was going to start cranking out more of his reviews and his Counter Monkey series, which I really love. I loved everything he did except for his wrestling series. That's because I have no interest in wrestling at all, but it seemed like a really good time when his Patreon went up and he was getting tons of money and he could basically work on his stuff full time, and I was really happy for the guy, and I was looking forward to some of the stuff he was going to do. And for about a year, it didn't really seem like his speed increased or anything, but he's still producing stuff for about a year after that. And then he started to produce less and less. And at the time, I didn't really think anything of it because he was kind of just in the background for me at the time. Like, I wasn't obsessed or anything over watching this guy's videos. There was other internet personalities I was more interested in at the time, but I always, frequented his website now and again and would watch I'd put his Counter Monkey videos on in the background while I'm working on my animations and stuff. So, and he did lots of funny vlogs with his brother about movies, and I don't know, it just seemed like things were going good. And then after about a year of being on his Patreon, the content started to come out slower and slower and slower, and I think it's been 3 or 4 years now. And about 2 years ago, he was putting out maybe one thing every 3 or 4 months. And I think his last real video, which was a Counter Monkey, he put out about 6 months ago, I think on election day. So his speed really just completely went down to the point where he's basically producing nothing. And a few months ago, it kind of dawned on me. I realized, I thought this guy had, like a great Patreon. He was making $5,000 a month, and everything was going great. And now it seems like he's not really doing anything. So I went to his Patreon, and I noticed that it had dropped substantially, and I was just kind of fascinated. Like, is this guy retiring or something? I didn't hear about it, and I started to do some research, and from what I can tell, poor Spoony is kind of just, he's just kind of gone mental. Like, it seems like he spends most of his time on just Twitter now, just constantly complaining about politics, how the elections have gone and the current U.S. president. He yells about Mr. Trump all the time, and it's just really bizarre. Like, this person who was so gung-ho about his opinions, and he didn't give a crap about what other people thought, and he's just, it's so weird. And I kept doing research, and where should I begin? It's a mess. Honestly, like, I don't think I'm going to go into the details about some of the things I found out. There's a lot of other videos that go into better detail about that. But the point is that I really liked Spoony's videos, and I was just kind of dumbfounded as to the kind of insane downward spiral to his content and how things were turning out for him after I realized that something crazy was going on. But before I continue, though, I do just want to point out that I really don't hate Spoony at all. I have no I'm not angry in the slightest. In fact, I kind of pity the guy, which honestly is probably the last thing he needs. I think, honestly, Spoony probably needs a big kick in the ass right now more than anything, but I feel more disappointment and sadness and pity for the guy rather than anger. But I just want to get that out there, that I hope this guy's life improves and I hope he gets back on track. I don't want to see anything worse happen to him. I want to see things get better, and I'm not normally a pessimist, but I'm kind of pessimistic, and I have a feeling that things are probably going to just spiral down and explode before they get any better, and I don't want to see that happen, but it might. But anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of armchair psychology because there are several points in the past where I think I've noticed that Spoony has changed, and there's several specific instances of where I've made correlations as to why certain content started to slowly disappear over time. So I'm going to do a little bit of armchair psychology. I'm sure there's other people who have, made better conjectures as to why Spoony has just gone completely mental and insane, but here's my take on it. Now, the first point, which has been pointed out by everyone, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it, but the first instance of where seemed like things might go wrong was Spoony basically being ejected from That Guy with the Glasses, and there was a huge drama that I didn't really get involved in because I hate drama. I kind of avoided it, but he says he quit That Guy with the Glasses. Who knows what actually happened? He went a separate way, and he seemed kind of upset for a while, but that only seemed like a temporary setback because, he set up his Patreon and all of his fans started, donating and supplying money to him so that he could keep his show going. And at the time, it didn't really seem like that affected him, but I have a feeling that probably did. That was probably one of the first things that, planted seeds in his psyche, so to speak, and probably made him a little bit bitter. But for me, personally, the first time I noticed something was off about Spoony, and it was about a year after it happened, but when The Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out, Noah made a vlog about it, and it was an extremely long vlog. It was longer than the movie, and he basically, did his thing where he just pulled it apart. He pointed out all the things in the movie he thought was stupid. He didn't like the movie at all, and he gave what seemed like his honest opinion. I thought the video was fine. It was one of his vlogs. I had it on in the background, and I enjoyed his snarky anger at it, and I thought there was nothing wrong with it. It was a little bit long, I'll admit that, but since I usually put his videos on in the background while I'm working, I honestly don't mind the long lengths. So after he did that, I want to say it was a few days later, he put up a video basically yelling at all of his fans and subscribers for disliking his vlog. Because apparently, a bunch of trolls or whatever said they were unsubscribing to him, and they thought it was ridiculous he made this vlog that was longer than the movie. And he seemed really, I could kind of tell in the video, he seemed really hurt by it, which really confused me because before this guy seemed to have like a really thick skin. Like, he would say extremely controversial opinions that almost no one held. And he would do it in a really funny and loud and mean way. And, the fandoms of the things he attacks would always come after him. And he just seemed to shrug it off. And it was really funny. And it was, and then it just seemed like in the course of one video, he completely flipped around. Like, all of this criticism got to him over a stupid vlog. And of all the hills to die on, Spider-Man 2, really? That really was a dumb movie. I can't believe. Anyway, the point is, after that happened, I think he only ever made one more vlog after that for I think it was an Avengers movie about a year later. So he completely stopped doing vlogs after that. So clearly, I personally believe all the negative feedback he got from that one vlog completely convinced him to just quit doing that altogether. And I honestly have no idea why that got to him. He said so many more insane things and received so much negative feedback from worse things he's done. I'm just kind of baffled out of all the things that convinced him to, stop doing vlogs. It was freaking Spider-Man 2. I mean, no one even remembers that movie now. I mean, the new reboot's already coming out and everyone's already forgotten about those two movies. But to me, that was the first time I recognized, like, something's kind of off. This guy stopped doing one of the things he's known for because he got a bunch of, negative feedback from a bunch of people on YouTube, which was really strange. And shortly after that, he disabled comments on his YouTube, so there's no real way to get in contact with him or, have any conversations with him online or give him feedback. And I honestly, I want to blame his whole downward spiral based on that one vlog. It really seems like that is the start of his downward spiral. And man, if that vlog really is what caused his downward spiral, that's kind of sad. But now the second thing I think that has contributed to Spoony's lack of content, or his is basically the slowdown of his work to the point where he's not doing anything, is I honestly think he did and he finished the things that he was most passionate about. I don't think he has any passion left in the work he does. Like, the two main things that he's known for are his ramblings and his videos and his reviews and critiques on Final Fantasy and Ultima. And I think those were the two things that he was really, really passionate about. And, he did this entire series on all of the Ultima games leading up to the one that basically he hated the most. And I could tell through that entire series he was just building and building up to that final game until he finally just kind of like let it all out and exploded. And I feel like after he did that and after he finished, I think it was Final Fantasy 13, after he finished those, I honestly feel like he got it all out of his system. He went after the sacred cows that he hated, and he was successful, and he didn't really have any passion in anything else. So, after those two big videos were done, I feel like he just kind of stumbled around, just kind of occasionally doing things he had mild interests in. I don't get that sense of passion in a lot of his later videos. I think he finished what he really, really wanted to do and didn't have something to do beyond that. So I think that's kind of what led to the decrease in quantity and quality, is just a severe lack of motivation and passion. Anyway, the second point, which I actually think I just brought up, was that he basically disabled all the comments on his videos, and he just kind of stopped communication in general. And I think that's probably what has sort of fanned the flames and why everyone's kind of so worked up over him, is that he's basically gone almost completely radio silent other than his Twitter ramblings on politics. So there's almost no communication with the guy. There's no explanations for anything other than occasionally he'll bring up some health issues. Apparently he has some sort of bipolar disorder, which I know other people, both in my personal life and other, famous YouTubers that have similar things, and, they still produce regular content. So I don't know if that's a good excuse or not. Excuse me. But other than the occasional rambling about health issues, there's almost no explanation or reason for why, his content has basically started to come out slower and slower. He has no communication with anyone, and it's just really weird. And that's honestly, this probably wouldn't be such a big deal if either he didn't have a Patreon or he was just in constant communication with everyone, letting them know what was going on. Like, I have a feeling if, every month he basically explicitly, honestly said what was going on, people would probably be a little more forgiving of him. So disabling comments and cutting off communication was not only, bad for all of his fans, but I actually think it was bad for him, because now he has no real gauge, or feedback from anyone. And I honestly think critique is extremely important for improvement. It's why, other than people posting like advertisements to spam websites, I never delete comments on any of my videos, no matter how like putrid or horrifying they are, because it reminds me that I'm not perfect and I can always do better, even if it's just someone being trolly. But he disabled all his comments and basically went radio silent. And for me personally, I think that's the thing that frustrates me most. I feel like if he just talked about what was going on, I'd just be like, oh, okay, his life is in trouble right now and he can't make videos. That sucks. I hope he gets better. And this wouldn't fester in my mind and the mind of all his other fans. So I don't know. I think I've kind of rambled enough. I didn't ramble nearly as much as I thought I was. I just kind of a general. I'm disappointed in Spoony, and I honestly hope things improve. I don't want to see this guy continue to spiral downward because he's basically he was the inspiration for me getting a thick skin, and it's kind of sad to see that he's kind of the opposite now. It seems like everything kind of gets to him. Like, he used to do streaming a little while ago, and people would just, make little jokes, or like, I think there was one instance where someone was actually offering to like help him play a game or something, and he just like completely flipped out, saying, "Don't tell me how to play. There's videos on it," and he just banned the person. It's just like, he was just trying to help you not die in the game. Why are you getting mad? It's like everything remotely negative seems to really get to him now. It's just staggering considering the sort of persona that he gave off years ago, like a decade ago. He was just, this guy screaming out in a crowd, and they'd all fight back against him, and he'd just stand there and take the punches, and he didn't care. Now it's like if someone so much as accidentally pokes him, he gets really mad. And I don't know. I hope he at least makes some sort of video explaining what's going on, because honestly I'm kind of worried. There's all sorts of weird theories and just crazy speculation about what's actually going on in his personal life. And anyway, I really am just kind of rambling on now. Point is, I hope Spoony gets better, and I'm really looking forward to Mr. Medicare's video on him. I think it comes out in sometime in the next 2 weeks, and I really hope it's the mean kick in the pants that Spoony needs, because I really think that's what he needs. He needs someone to just go at him and say, get yourself together, man. Either, close down your Patreon and retire and move on, or, suck it up and get back to work and, appease your fans. And that's the sad thing, is even though he's fallen so low, I have a feeling if like he just started, making content again, even just like once a month, he could probably build his numbers, maybe not up to 5,000 a month like he was getting, but he could probably make a living off of the goodwill he would get back if he like consistently did things for a year or two. That's probably what's even sadder about it is with the right motivation, I actually do think he could recover, because he honestly is like, he's got like this weird sense of charisma, and I don't know, I like him and I like his videos. And Spoony, if you ever hear this, I hope you figure out what's going on, and I hope you get back on track, or go off into the sunset happy, because right now I'm worried and concerned and confused, and I don't know, things aren't looking too good. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to my ramble. Bye.